you could pick somebody else, but you're just really you're kind of reaching if you don't pick her.
And I actually have Will Howells on my first team. You also really hate
Yeah,
the Dallas Flash.
I was going to mention, I also do hate the Dallas Flash. They are my rival. And I hope they lose 4-0 both games, actually. Actually, I hope they would even then just play the third game for fun and they could lose that one 4-0 as well. Okay, everybody, welcoming to the channel, Erik Tice. Erik, you are a writer for the Dink. You write in their newsletter. You're doing all kinds of great tweets. I don't know if I could have followed MLP final event this week with all the scenarios as well without all your tweets. You do a great job there. Y'all can make sure to follow him there. But yeah, welcome. Well, what do you think of MLP Miami?
Thanks, Manny. Yeah, Miami lived up to the bill for me, for sure. There was a lot of drama. I mean, almost every single day, there was something happening that had playoff implications, both challenger level. Challenger was probably a little bit more interesting just because so many things changed. Even in Premier, though, the last match had very big implications for seeding. So, yeah, and the last match in Challenger also had huge implications for seeding because Miami was kind of ready to take the 2 spot going into the last day, and then they didn't get any points from their last 2 matches, and now they dropped to the 3, which isn't like terrible, except now you're not guaranteed the bye, and now you're not guaranteed the promotion. So, yeah, I thought there was a lot of drama there. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely that extra wrinkle in Challenger of like, if you get the 2 seed, you don't have to worry about it. You're going to get promoted. I think I kind of felt just a little bit let down, and I don't know if it was just a lot of it is just the way the standings broke for Premier League. There just was I was trying desperately so hard to manifest some drama, even though I then realized, wait, if I manifest too much drama, maybe that's not good for the ranchers. But I also think it would have been nice if every team was at this last event. It's kind of like how like in Premier League or on the NFL, they have like all those games going that like start at the same time. You know, I think that would have been kind of a good wrinkle to add. Obviously, there's a lot of scheduling logistics that go into that, but it would have been nice. We'd get a little bit more drama for Premier League, but for Challenger, where I guess the stakes maybe are arguably a little bit higher this year than Premier League, that was certainly fun to see. But yeah, I mean, it was a ton of fun. So before we pivot to talking about the playoffs, now that the regular season is a wrap, I thought it'd be fun if we picked an MVP and a first team and second team for Premier League and for Challenger. So I'm going to start off with the obvious choice for MVP, 38-3 in regular season on the year or something thereabout. Annalie Waters. I mean, you could pick somebody else, but you're just really you're kind of reaching if you don't pick her.
Right, I agree. I don't know how anybody else could get an MVP award. I think it's 39-3.
My number was odd, so I knew it was wrong.
Outrageous.
Yeah, absolutely. So first team, I put her as my first woman I took, and then Anna Bright feels like another easy selection. Then for my men on the first team, I went with Hayden Patrickman and J.W. Johnson.
Got it. Yeah, so I have a very similar team. It's Annalie, Anna Bright, Hayden, and I actually have Will Howells on my first team.
Yeah, I think that's a fair pick.
When I was looking at both of them, JW and Will both have the same exact winning percentage overall. And I just went with Will because I think he came on late in the season and really helped solidify the fact that the Fives got the 1 seed.
Yeah, like for the Fives, it was once they started winning those men's doubles games here and there with Zane and Will, it just kind of, that's when they really just evolved into like a total juggernaut.
For sure.
For my second team, I went with Georgia Johnson, Rachel Rohrbacher, then I put Will House here, and then I went with a little narrative-driven award here. I went with Kwang Duong, which was maybe an interesting pick. He's only 50% win percentage on the year, but he had to play with a bunch of different partners. Him joining the team just really took it to the next level for the 9 matches when they were at full strength. I don't know. Maybe this is just me being an absolute ridiculous homer, but that's what I went with. I think, you know, you're allowed to do little narrative-driven things in these awards. I feel like that's kind of half the fun, so that's what I went with.
Yeah, for sure. So we have the same, Georgia and Rachel. I think those two are kind of not really even question marks. And then I obviously have JW on my second team because I had Will on my first. And then I didn't go narrative-driven. I did go by win percentage. And, you know, he's caught a lot of flack this year, but Ben still won a ton of matches, and I don't think anybody would argue with me that he had the worst supporting cast around him out of anybody that won that much. So I put him on my second team.
Yeah, that's fair. And again, this is where the narrative came in with how much, I guess, attention was on that team and questions about effort. I was just like, you know what? We're going to let Ben sit this one out. If you see these awards in like other leagues, if you don't make the playoffs, sometimes you just get left out of the voting. So that's what I did.
For sure. Absolutely.
I also picked a manager of the year. And again, no surprise, I'm a massive homer, but Ryan DeWidgeon had to manage a team through a bunch of injuries, made the Kwang Duong replacement. So in terms of all the teams that made the playoffs had very consistent roster construction. DC made a trade early, but everybody else was healthy, had everybody for every event. He had to scrap, he had to find players, he had to make subs and everything. So I got to give him a big shout out.
I really, really, really dislike helping you root for the Ranchers, but I also have to agree. When Ryan made that move to pick up Kwang permanently, I was less than enthusiastic. I didn't really see it. Kwang is probably the GM move of the year, so I don't know how you could not also give him the GM of the year.
There you go. I'm not just a homer. That was actually a good take. For Challenger, my MVP, I obviously went with the player with the best win percentage, which was Rachel Retger.
Perfect.
Yeah, no,
yes, that's obviously. I don't know how you could choose anybody else.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to her. That you got to give her some credit for that. But I did go with Ava Radzikowska. She had such a good win percentage on a team that didn't have a good win percentage, and she really willed this team into the playoffs. So I mean, she has a reputation as like the GOAT of MLP challengers. So again, maybe I'm just a sucker for a good narrative.
I chose somebody different, but I really think the challenger level MVP is kind of a three-way race, and I don't think you'd be ridiculous to choose any of the three. I think Ava's amazing, and like you said, had a crazy win percentage on a team that barely got into the playoffs, had a lot of bad losses early, and she just kept winning. The other two are Megan Fudge, who has the highest win percentage. She won 30 games. She went 30-10 overall. And obviously she didn't play as many matches, but like my MVP for Challenger was actually Jaume. And he won 32 games. So it was 32-14 and she was 30-10. Like I think any one of those three is a reasonable MVP. I just think Jaume brought a little bit more in mixed and in Dreambreaker, so I kind of gave him the edge. But honestly, any one of those three really deserved it.
No surprise that those were the first three players I put on my first team: Megan Fudge, Ava, Jaume, and then I went with Max Manthow to round it out. He was kind of a surprising pick, or maybe a lesser known player, but he performed super well. Him and Eric Lang have been playing really well on the APP tour, so seeing him succeed, I think that was a big reason why that team ended up doing so well.
Yeah, I don't have Max in my first or second team. I love that pick. I just had him as most improved.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair.
I had Todd
Todd's
Folk
a good pick.
as my other first teamer. He's another one of those, just like Ava. He's like a challenger level GOAT, in my opinion. Super steady on the right, can get big and mixed, and he's serviceable as a second guy in a Dreambreaker, and he has one of the biggest win percentages. So, yeah.
For second team, it was kind of hard for me to pick the women I wanted on here. There was a lot of turnover this year with players joining late. Probably could have gone with either of the Miami women here, but I went with Yana, and I went with Zoe Wong as my second choice there. And then Jack Monroe, I almost put him first team, brought him on the second team, and then Todd Fote rounding out my team. So Yana, Zoe, Jack Monroe, and Todd Fote were my second team picks.
We are 3 for 4 on that one. I also have Yana, Zoe, and Jack Monroe. And although they didn't make the playoffs, this guy goes way under the radar. I don't think anybody would question if I said that he hits the ball top 5 hardest forehands in the game. And Daniel De La Rosa really was super steady for Brooklyn this year. I'll put it this way. If he's not on that team, I don't think they do nearly as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick too. I had him as kind of one of my people in consideration. And hey, I'm gonna do another manager/coach of the year. And maybe I'm just a homer for people who live in Austin, but I'm gonna give a shout out to the other partner of the lab with Ryan DeWidgeon. Carlos DeLora stepped in as the coach for the Chicago Slice down the stretch, and I think he might be the winningest coach in MLP history now.
Okay.
How about that? So shout out to the boys at the lab. with that, let's go ahead and move on to the playoffs. Eric, do you want to give us a quick rundown of how the playoffs work? What's the format?
In the playoffs, we have 6 teams who made the playoffs. The top 2 seeds earn a bye into the semis, and the semis are in Orlando in 3 weeks. The big note here is that we already talked about it, but I just want to reiterate, the top 4 teams from Challenger will be automatically promoted to Premier next year. Additionally, in the playoff format, the best seed gets to choose who they want to play. So, for example, Dallas was seeded 3rd, and they are the best team to be playing in this weekend because the first 2 seeds got a bye. So Dallas got to choose between Texas and the New York Hustlers. They couldn't choose DC because DC was the 4 seed. Another thing that is super duper important that people are kind of sleeping on is the better seed throughout the playoffs gets to choose all 5 coin flip options when it comes to every single match they play. So they get to choose whether they serve or return. They get to choose which side they want. They get to choose gender doubles. Does men's go out first or does women's? They also get to react in mixed doubles to the other team, and they get to react to a dream breaker. That's like all of that combined is a ginormous advantage. And so that is very worth noting.
Yeah, I think like obviously reacting to the lineups jumps out as the biggest advantage when you think about that because you see how men's and women's goes, and then you can kind of say, okay, do we want to like maximize our chances to get 2 wins? Do we want to just like lock up one more win? So obviously that's a big advantage, and Dream Breaker, same thing. But the one that I think maybe is slept on is the side advantage. Like when we play outdoors with those big video boards, with the wind, with lighting, I feel like there's usually a side advantage. So that could be huge. Also, these are 2 of 3 series. Best 2 of 3 series, which will be fun. I don't think we've had that before. That's a new wrinkle. It is kind of funny that in Dallas we're going to get games 2 and game 3 if necessary, like on the same day. Like they're just going to kind of run it almost back to back. That's a little funny to me. I think it would have been maybe more fun if there was like a day off. So that's just my initial thought, but it'll be exciting if we get to like a game 3. It'll be pretty high stakes, especially in this first round of challengers, as you mentioned, so important trying to get promoted. So now that we have kind of established how the playoffs work, if you were Dallas, the 3 seed, would you have picked New York?
Good question. I would have picked New York. Yes. So they had the option between Texas and New York, like we said. New York has just been so up and down this year. I forget what the event was, but they were like almost undefeated in one event. And then they looked really good in MLP Miami last weekend. I think they won their first 2 in regulation. We're rolling. And then they hit a buzzsaw. And so they're so up and down. I think Dallas had to choose them.
I agree.
What about you? What do you think? What would you have done?
Yeah, I agree with you. You look at Dallas versus Texas too. Like you can just look at the regular season and say, "Oh, Dallas went 3-0 against Texas. Why aren't they picking them?" Well, Texas never actually had like their current full strength lineup in those matchups. It was in the initial drafted team where they lost 3-1. It was with Pablo and Kwong when he was subbing in originally. They lost. It was also with Anderson Scarpa that they lost. In the midseason tournament, they actually split a pair of matches at full strength with Texas's current lineup. So I think you have to keep in mind, like, yeah, Texas is the 5 seed, but in the events that they played, which there were only 9 matches with their full strength lineup, they averaged 2.44 points per match, which would have been enough for the 1 seed. So at full strength, Texas is just as dangerous as any team. The only reason I could think maybe you pick Texas over New York is in the playoffs, if you think maybe Dream Breakers are more important, since it doesn't really matter if you win in regulation or Dream Breaker. All that matters now, just get the win, whatever it takes. And if you get to a Dream Breaker, I think I would rather face the Texas team than New York. But then again, the Texas men are really good. It's just where their women fall off. So I think they made the right choice, and I would have picked New York as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all of that. New York is probably one of the best Dream Breaker teams. And Dallas is good, but not nearly as good. But I think they're hoping to win in regulation. I don't think that
Certainly.
they're not too worried about Dream Breakers, I don't think.
Yeah, the best way to win a Dream Breaker is not to get to one.
Yep. Or have Annalie on your team.
Yeah, that will certainly help too. Who's your X factor going to be? And do you have like any predictions for how the series will go?
I definitely 100% think the X factor is Jack Sock. Like, which Jack's
gotta be.
Yeah, which Jack shows up, and can he sustain whatever level he starts with? It seems like Jack is really good early on in events lately, and then kind of runs out of steam towards the end. If he's playing well, I definitely think New York has a chance. New York runs as he runs, because Jackie is super solid along with CJ. Like, they're two of the best in terms of just overall consistency. Leia's a little up and down, but Leia's top level is so high that even if she is off a little bit, I think that they'll be fine. I really think Jack needs to make dinks. And so if he
avoid the patented speed up into the net that we see so much from him.
Yeah. Let's move to the left, hit a forehand dink into the net. He is known for this. If he can clean that up, I think they have a chance. My prediction for them is New York wins in a dream breaker in the first game, and then Jack kind of runs out of steam in the second and third, and Dallas wins both match 2 and match 3 in regulation. What about you?
Okay, that's fun. That's a little drama. It would be. I really do hope we get some good dream breakers with such high stakes. I think that's going to be like, that could be some really special moments there. Yeah, I think Dallas is just going to kind of cruise here. They're okay. Yeah, that's just my prediction. It's not fun. I'm hope I love a good narrative. I love some drama, so I'll be rooting for New York to kind of.
Plus, you also really hate the Dallas Flash.
I was going to mention, I also do hate the Dallas Flash. They are my rival. And I hope they lose 4-0 both games, actually. I hope they would even then just play the third game for fun, and they could lose that one 4-0 as well. But unfortunately, I do think they have a very good team, and I do think that they will cruise. So the other matchup in the Premier League playoffs is DC versus Texas. And hey, I'm going to be a homer again. I'm also thinking Texas has a pretty good chance here. DC didn't really finish the season as strong. They kind of peaked a few events ago, maybe after that trade. It seems like maybe Vivian Glausman's not playing as well. The men's doubles team has really fallen off. What do you think of this matchup?
DC is another team that is super up and down, right? If Viv and James are playing their best, I don't see how this team loses. Like, they're so good. Their ceiling is so high. But then Vivian gets into these moments where it seems like she cannot hit a forehand dink over the net. James has his ups and downs. And then also, out of everybody playing this week, I'm most worried health-wise for James. Because he pulled out of Miami on the last day with points on the line due to some sort of back injury. I've heard. I haven't seen that confirmed anywhere, but that was what I was hearing. And out of everybody who's been, Christian's been injured, but he had his headache from Vegas. That was 2 weeks ago. Seems to be doing fine. Etta was having some heat issues. She seems to be doing fine. So I am a little bit concerned about James's health throughout the whole. If they have to play 3 matches, that may be a long time, especially you never know what's going to flare up with a back. So I just think that DC is a little bit too tumultuous, and I actually have the Ranchers winning as well.
The only thing I would also mention is, even though Texas kind of fizzled out down the season without Alshon, Etta Wright and Tina Pisnik did not really look that sharp in their last event, nor did Kwang Duong and Tina Pisnik. So even though Scarpa was filling in for Alshon, the rest of the team didn't really raise their level to make up for that. So hopefully they can recapture that form they were in before that. So definitely will be interesting to see, like, if these teams can get back to their peak and who's going to kind of step up. So that kind of does it for our Premier League first round predictions. Real quick though, before we move on to talk about Challenger, do you have a championship prediction for Premier League?
My champion for Premier League is the New Jersey Fives, and here's the reason why. I think that last match in Miami against the Orlando Squeeze actually won New Jersey the championship, because that leapfrogged them over St. Louis, right? Now, they are the number 1 seed. Let's say they both win their semifinals. I do think that's going to happen. With New Jersey being able to pick who goes out first and react and mixed, and react in a dream breaker, I just don't see them losing 2 out of 3 to St. Louis. Is it possible? For sure. I really like the St. Louis team, but I think the advantage of having the overall number 1 seed wins New Jersey the premier level.
Especially when you think about like if they can just kind of almost guarantee they can at least get to a dream breaker. If they just put out Anna Lee Waters and Will House up against Gabe and Kate, you've got to think they can like lock down a mixed wins. And also if it does get to a dream breaker, you probably have to favor them. But I don't know why. Maybe I've just been having Anna Bright on the channel too much, but I just think she's a winner, and I think she's going to get this team across the finish line. So they're my pick. I think
nice.
Another funny wrinkle is I was talking to Anna last week. She said that they were late to one of their matches in Las Vegas against the Dallas Flash, and they did not get to participate in the coin flip. So Dallas got to make all those selections, and St. Louis still beat them. So maybe it's not as big of a deal as we think it is. It'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I'm going with St. Louis just because it's more fun if I pick somebody different than you.
Yeah, for sure. So challenger first round, the 3 seed is Miami, and they chose to play 6 seed Frisco. And the 4 seed is Atlanta, and they are playing the Las Vegas Night Owls.
It's kind of funny that you get to pick who you want as the 3 seed, and it's a fun idea in principle, but both teams just end up picking the 6 seed. So
yeah, right. But I think they made the right choices too. Mm-hmm. It's not Agreed. Like they were like, oh, this is a 6 seed, I'm picking them. I think they both should have done what they did. Let's talk about Miami versus Frisco first. Miami started out MLP Miami super hot, really good. And then the last day did not earn any points in their last 2 matches and made them fall from the 2 seed to the 3 seed. They kind of looked out of sorts, to be honest. So Miami is another up and down team, but when Miami is up, I think they're easily a top 3 team in Challenger, probably the top team. So I do have Miami beating Frisco and getting some revenge for that win that Frisco had to get into the playoffs that also helped knock Miami out of the first round bye.
Yeah, that'll be fun to see. Kind of like this was such a crucial matchup last week. We get it again with, the stakes were just as high last week, and now we get it again. Right. That'll be fun to watch. I'm gonna just keep riding this whole narrative drama hype train. I think Frisco's gonna keep it rolling. Gonna be a little Cinderella here.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I think if that happens, I think Michael Lloyd has to play out of his mind.
That's true.
Which is very, very possible. The other matchup is Atlanta versus Las Vegas. So Atlanta played in Miami, and Las Vegas, the last time they played was actually in Las Vegas. They're both doing well right now, and I think they're both riding a high, so we're going to see 2 teams that are both playing well. Atlanta has the advantage in men's doubles for sure, and Las Vegas has the advantage in women's doubles for sure. I think this one really comes down to mixed. If it goes to a dream breaker, I'd really like Vegas in a dream breaker.
It's kind of funny. Like I think Atlanta has the best player in a dream breaker, but when it comes to the best complete lineup in the dream breaker, Las Vegas has been very tough to beat.
For sure. I mean, they've switched it throughout the year, whether they put Judith out first or Zoe. But either way, imagine being the second woman in a dream breaker in challenger level facing one of those 2. Like, that's very daunting.
Those 2 women would beat most Premier League teams in a dream breaker. I'm going to say we're going to get 3 dream breakers here. Wouldn't that be epic? We're going to get 3 dream breakers. So I'm going to pick that.
That would be epic. I do have Atlanta barely beating Las Vegas, them just being a little bit more seasoned and having a little bit more time in pickleball under their belt. I think they're able to win that one.
Okay, and then who's taking it all for Challenger?
I actually have the SoCal Hard Eights taking it all for Challenger. I really like the Chicago team if they can win in regulation. I don't love Chicago in Dream Breakers at all. So if a team can beat them in Dream Breakers, then I think that they're just a little bit off of SoCal's level. I think SoCal, all the people on SoCal are playing really well right now. So yeah, I think the SoCal Hard Eights win the Challenger level.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with the Chicago Slice because it is right around lunchtime we're recording this, and I am pretty hungry, and some pizza sounds good. But also, big fan of Jack Monroe, him and Megan Fudge. Just such a good top-level team. Could get a little dicey for them. I mean, they haven't done that well in Dream Breakers, have they?
No, they have not, for sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm just getting good vibes from the slice.
I really like that team. If that team can win in regular, like if they win a men's, they're probably going to win women's. If they can win a men's and then win one mix, they're going to just win in regulation almost all the time. So it's going to take a team that beats them in a dream breaker, I think, more often than not to get by them.
Cool. Well, that's all I had on our little rundown sheet. Anything else we want to talk about?
No, I think we covered it all.
All right. Well, thanks again for hopping on, and everybody, make sure to go check out all of Erik's content. What's the best way to follow you or keep up with you?
Yeah, I'm just on Twitter mostly, and it's at AZE And yeah, I appreciate the follow.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for coming on. That's all we have today, and yeah, that's it. Oh, like and subscribe to this video. Like this video and subscribe to this channel. Thank you. I'm supposed to say that. Otherwise, people don't do it. It's crazy.
They don't. Say it. They don't do it.
They don't do it.
You got to say it.
Got to say it. Got to say it. All righty. Thank you.
All right.
All right. I'm gonna stop recording now.